Good afternoon. We'll begin with UMass. I think that one of the things that stands out about UMass is what Mark Whipple has done with the program. I've got a lot of respect for Mark. We go back to when I was at Grand Valley. He was at New Haven, and so the Division II background. I've had a lot of respect for what he's done. He's won a national championship at UMass when they were 1AA, and he's built this program in a very short period of time into, one of the best teams in the MAC. They had 5 games last year where, in their last possession, had a chance to win games. This year you can already see had a chance to beat Temple, and we all know that Temple's got 2 very good wins already against Penn State and Cincinnati. Offensively, very difficult to defend. They do so many things. Mark takes a lot of his background in college, but also his NFL background, and does a lot of things with motions and movements and formations. So there'll be a great challenge and a real change from what we were working on last week compared to this week. So it'll be a big transition for us defensively. Fronapple, Tajay Sharp, 2 very dangerous players. Blake's a very good quarterback, throws it well, he's got escapability, stands in the pocket, knows what he's doing, and I think Tajay Sharp, one of the better receivers we'll see all year. Good complement of running backs. The tight end position last week was the difference in the game. I mean, they had a chance to win the game last week. Rodney Mills, who's really listed as a fullback, had 2 big touchdowns for him. So we've got our hands full defensively against them. Offensively, we're going to have to deal with a very stout front, and they play both 3 down and 4 down. They were all 3 down against Colorado, and then they come back the next week against Temple, and they're practically all 4 down, which gave Temple some fits. But they're a veteran defense with 9 starters returning, just like on the offense. A veteran offensive line as well, very talented offensive line. So this is a veteran football team that we have to prepare for. Again, it's a big transition from Georgia Tech to UMass, and specifically what they do on offense with shifting and trading and formations. It's a nightmare in terms of what we're going to have to get ready for, and then defensively preparing for both 3 down and 4 down, and a veteran secondary as well. Well-coached football team, and one that we'll have to play well if we expect to win. So with that, I'll open up to questions.
Brian, you talked about how they've done so far, but your team talked after the game that night about being disrespected by being underdogs last week. They're going to know that they're heavy favorites this week. How do you avoid being complacent, especially with a big game the following week?
Well, you rely on your leaders to make certain that they hold everybody accountable to the way they prepare and ultimately the way they play. And so if we really have the kind of locker room and chemistry that I think we have, then we should play very well. And if we play very well, we're capable of beating anybody in the country. If we don't, then we could lose to anybody. So you really you put it heavily on your players to prepare the right way, and especially your seniors and your leaders to make certain that everybody across the board is doing the little things the right way.
And since you both have Division II backgrounds, have you and Coach Whipple, aside from when he was at Miami, crossed paths before?
No, we didn't play when we were at Grand Valley in New Haven. I think it was a year where I did not make the playoffs, and they did at New Haven. But we had known each other for quite some time prior to that.
Matthias obviously had a good second half last week.
Yeah.
I think it's a little bit rare for at Notre Dame for a non-starter to be a captain. What did he bring to that? Allowed him. What does he? Why do you think he got that honor?
Well, I think he does so many little things well in all areas. He's really a force in special teams. Just for an example, C.J. Prosise was a point winner last year in special teams, and he had 11 solo tackles for the whole year. Matthias already has 6. So he makes a huge impact in special teams, as well as he does so many jobs and is counted on defense as somebody that makes plays. He's a veteran. He's somebody that mentors all the young guys. He carries such a huge amount of respect from not only his class, but the younger players as well. I'll give you an example. And you guys have been out there before. We have our stretch lines, right? His stretch lines, after they're done with their stretch, he has a handshake for each one of the guys in that line. He just has a relationship with everybody that makes him beloved by all of his players.
And just kind of his mentality. He started on the 212 team, and he's started fewer games each season since. A lot of guys would let that get them down. And why do you think he's been able to overcome that and be a leader?
Well, it bothers him. He's competitive, and I've had to have talks with him about being prepared and being ready. He doesn't like it. He wants to be out there starting. He believes that he can help this football team as a starter, but he's one of those guys that makes this 2000 football team special in that he'll do whatever's necessary for the good of the team.
Thank you.
I'm going to go ahead then.
Okay.
Okay. On Sunday, you weren't quite sure how the safety thing was going to shake down. Do you have a better feel for that?
Yeah, Max, we believe Max will be able to start for us again. And again, a lot of that was predicated on his ability to tackle with his hand. He feels really good and confident that he can do that. We believe that that's going to be the case. We'll test him a little bit this week. We'll make sure that he tackles, but all indications are that he's going to be able to play at the level that he played with at Texas, and he did at the end of last year. So if he does, we're a pretty good football team with him back there.
And then who kind of steps into Drew Tranquil's role?
Well, that's a good question. I think we're still kind of evolving there, but we'll activate. Nick Baratti is going to have to play more of a role, and McKelty Williams will bring up to our defensive team and get him some reps and some work as well. And then there's still some other thoughts as to some other players that will work into some different roles.
With Nicky, it's been a long road back for him. How has he held up? What's that journey been like for him?
Well, it's been a slow, long process with 2 shoulder injuries, but he's done well on special teams for us and, had some key tackles for us on Saturday. So we're feeling like, he's gaining some more confidence each day in his ability to go out there and compete. But we still know that, he's had major surgery on both shoulders at a time when, there was some doubt as to whether he could come back. So we still have to be prepared that, at that position, we have to have some depth there. So that's why McKelty is going to get some work too.
Speaking of shoulders, how did Joe Schmidt come out of the game? It looked like maybe he got dinged on the onside kick or around that time.
Yeah, our training staff is responsible for that. We have a spotter up in the press box that has live video feeds, and they determined that there was nothing to be concerned about. And when he came over, there was no concussion protocol that was entered, so there was nothing on my medical list relative to a head injury.
Or shoulder?
No, nothing.
Okay.
Nothing.
I just want to be thorough.
Yes.
Jerry Tillery really seemed to step up to the challenge. Do you see that with going back to conventional defense, something that you maybe would get some carryover with him?
Yeah, I think anytime you get in there and gain a great level of confidence in playing, it's only going to help you. But I think Daniel Cage will continue to play for us and up his reps. Certainly, this was a better game for somebody that's a little bit more agile and athletic. Daniel's more powerful at times. Jerry could get cut and get right back up. And that's really where he was outstanding, is his ability to get right back up and into the play. But I still see Daniel being with Jerry as equal in those inside tackle positions.
The Corey Robinson fans are worried about his opportunities in production, but Chris Brown and Corey, they're...
We were looking at it as well in terms of production. It's just the luck of the draw in terms of when he's in, and he got the calls when he was in the game at that time. It'll all even out statistically. It generally does, and we think it probably will.
Last one from me. What's the next step with Deshaun Kaiser? What do you want to see different, better in week 2?
There are some fundamentals that need to be cleaned up. Ball security. I was a little concerned with the ball being a little loose at times. Ball came out one time in a screen situation where it was intentional grounding, but we got to eat that. I think there was another time on a run where the ball came out at the end of the run. Tighten those things up a little bit, tighten up his footwork a little bit. He was off a little bit in accuracy on some lower throws that we'll work on hard this week. But in terms of maybe cadence as well, we got to be a little bit better with our cadence. He pauses a little bit too much in his verbal cadence. So cleaning up more of the fundamentals than the big picture stuff. I was really pleased with the big picture stuff. I think it's more of that lack of playing time and some of the mechanics.
Brian, straight ahead here. Joe Schmidt last week probably played about as well as we've seen him play in a Notre Dame uniform with 8 solos, 2 assists, a lot of big plays. How do you explain how well that he played in last week's game?
Well, first of all, he's one of the stronger players we have on the football team. He's physically strong. He has a great acumen for the game. He understands how he fits in our defensive structure. And he's very disciplined. He does his job. And so when you're facing an option team, if you have the physical strength to get in there and compress a guard or a center, if you have the smarts and discipline, then you can put yourself in a position to make plays. And we knew that about Joe. And he's that kind of football player. He possesses all of those skills necessary to play at the highest level that he did.
Does that same explanation fall behind Greer Martini too? Because here's another guy that really stepped up last week.
Yeah, probably not as strong yet physically, but getting stronger each and every week that he's in the program. Very smart, understands his role and responsibility. Got caught a couple of times with the fullback coming out of the backfield, not working through number 3, exchanging that off, but had a really good game and really helped us quite a bit because he just really understands the game very well.
I think you made the comment after the game, you almost referred to Martini as an option specialist, and we've seen specialists in the NFL for quite a while now, third down backs and pass rushers. Are we at the point in college football where players are now specialists in certain roles?
Well, I think that there's, every player has a strength. I think, it's not fair to pigeonhole him as just an option specialist. He's very smart. He really fits well in our scheme. He knows his run fits very well. He's a bigger kid. The spread offenses have taken him off the field a little bit. If you get into two tight ends and you want to bang it around a little bit, he's on the field much more. So I think if you use specialists in that sense, you know, the offensive formations tend to now force you into using different type of players at different positions.
And are you at all concerned about your place kicking situation? You banked one off the upright, missed a short field goal, I believe.
No, I don't think we missed a field goal.
Didn't miss a field goal, but he banked the one off the upright.
Yeah. No, I'm not concerned. He's 4 or 6 for field goals, and he's banged them from 45. You know, he's still working through some fundamentals, and you know, he's Justin's such a conscientious kid. He'll clean up a couple of the mistakes that he made and make the adjustments necessary. Not concerned in the least bit.
Thank you.
Brian, to your right, Kavari's been back for 3 games now. I was wondering if you could just evaluate his performance and what you've seen.
Well, I think it's still evolving. I mean, he plays with such great energy and passion. He is fully engaged, but you know, there's still a lot that he doesn't have a reservoir of games, in a sense that he doesn't have a big bank of knowledge at his position. So he's still learning quite a bit out there. And Coach Light's doing a great job of trying to give him as much information daily about the position in which he plays. So I think he's only going to get better each and every week, but certainly still in that process of learning technique, learning splits, learning alignments, things of that nature.
Do you think there's any of that rust still there, or is that kind of gone at this point?
No, I don't think we're at that point where we would talk about rust anymore. I think we're really simply talking about him continuing to learn the position and gain more knowledge each and every day.
And I know last week we talked about blocking on kick returns, and you said there were some improvements that were going to be made in the coaching. I was wondering if you saw those improvements made on Saturday.
Yeah, we had one missed block that didn't allow us to get into the tunnel, and we made a change there. We were able to make the adjustment that I wanted on kickoff return. We only had one returned. So, yeah, I'll be anxious to see where we go this week with it.
Pretty much covered everything on Martini, but I just wondered, as Joe Schmidt exits the program after this year, the guy that's kind of been the brains of your operation there in the middle is Martini. You mentioned he's a smart kid. Is Martini the kind of kid that could pick up where Schmidt left off in that department? Well,
I would definitely say that he's a student of the game. We recruited him because of his smarts and his intelligence. And, you know, at Woodward Academy, I think one of the things that stood out in our recruiting process and when we brought him up here on campus was that, you know, he's very vocal, very smart, you know, helped the other 10 players really be better players around him. And that was one of the draws in the recruiting process for him, because he didn't necessarily jump out at you as a gifted physically. You know, he doesn't possess some of maybe the raw skills that a Niles Morgan has. But I think both of those guys are, you know, certainly vying to be the next guy in there.
As he continues to get bigger, I mean, is his future at Mike linebacker? I know he's kind of moved around a little bit for you inside and out. You're still not sure?
I think that there's going to be some interesting competition at a few of those positions.
Right. You tried to get Brandon Wimbush in the game. You really tried, right?
I really did.
I know.
He asked about 4 times, I'm going in, right? I'm going in. And it just, the way it was going there at the end, I didn't want to put him in a position where something crazy could happen. So I'm still committed to that end, that we got to get him in sooner than later.
I wanted to follow up on the bracketing that occurred on the interception with Kaiser and exactly what you're looking for from him. I mean, the cornerback jumps the route, right, and takes the fade away, and I imagine the bracketing is the answer to the fade.
Yes,
on
it
the
is.
other side of the ball. Do you want him to, and there's a little window there to get the ball to Corey Robinson once he recognizes the corner has jumped the route. Do you want him to try to squeeze it in there, or would you rather have him look to the other side of the field?
Well, a couple of things. It's something that we see that's not uncommon. We see it against our defense as well. First of all, Corey has to stay outside. When Corey saw the corner jump outside, he immediately worked back inside. We don't have time to read Corey. We're throwing it to a spot, and therefore that's why we had the interception. So Corey's got to continue to hold his line on the play. However, prior to that, he should have seen the safety that was aligned on the backside of the formation. Once he saw that safety lined up weak, which is his movement key on the play, that would have got his eyes to the front